Welcome back to week 2 of Computer Literacy, Spring 2020 with Mr. Rio. We're going to be doing another Excel workbook this week. We'll make a new workbook. Last week we kind of jumped right into Excel and started making things. I didn't talk a lot about Excel. I figured we'd make some stuff first, then you get used to it a little bit, and then we could back up a little bit and take a look at Excel. One of the documents I have for you this week, well, a couple of things. Number one, I was able to get all of our sheets for this week, Excel week 2 sheets, into one PDF. So you don't have to download multiple PDFs for each worksheet. You got one PDF, you can get the information for there. That's the basic information you put in with the labels. That's the text on the worksheet that says things like, a business name or employee or salary or whatever it may be that the information's about, and the numbers that you need to get started. I'm not picky if you're in the exact same rows and columns that I am. Somewhere in the top left of the Excel sheet would be fine. Some people start literally in row A1. I often don't. I move down a little bit. So as long as you make everything relative to the rows and columns you're in, you're fine. So I'll talk about that when we start making our stuff. Now I have this PDF here that you will be downloading, and like I said, this has all of there'll be a sheet about bank account summaries. Now this does not have our formulas or functions in it. Also, it doesn't tell you where to put this. So you're going to have some room up here, and we'll talk about that more when I get to the actual sheets. And this is the information. So if you start the tutorial and you get to the first sheet and you don't have all this typed in yet, you can just pause it, get the PDF, go to the sheet, and type all this in. Okay? And formatting. Last week I covered formatting, like the currency formatting and bolds and stuff. I'll review a little bit about that this week, but you should know how to do that. We also have one assignment we're going to do about average temperatures. So we're going to learn about something called the average function. We're going to do one about sales volume, where we're not only going to add up the sales for the week, but we're going to see who has what number is the highest sales. This little thing over here, just ignore that. I must have had something clicked when I made the PDF. We're going to do one on mileage from Miami, Florida. What city is the shortest? We may also do the longest in there. It's not written on here, but it'd be pretty easy to add. So we may do that. That's going to be involving some other functions called min and max we're going to be covering. So we'll be covering average function, min function, max function. And then this last one is going to be quite a challenge. This is going to be the if function. We're going to have insurance premiums for different people of different ages. And some people are going to get an increase and some are going to get a decrease depending on their age. So that's going to be a little more complicated, so pay close attention to that one. It's really not that hard once you figure out the logic behind it, but it will take a little bit more of attention. So download the PDF for Excel Week 2 sheets, and you'll have all your basic information right there. Okay, now you're also going to get notes. Now I didn't share any notes with you last week, and here they are right here. So I'm just going to review a few things from the notes. We use the words spreadsheet and worksheet interchangeably, okay? But we're talking about just the sheet that you're on. In Excel, the entire file, but right now we're only making one file for this week, that's called a workbook. So a workbook can have one sheet in it, a workbook can have 50 sheets in it. Or in this case today, I think we got 5 sheets in here. So we're going to make one workbook, and we're going to make multiple sheets in there. What our spreadsheet, worksheet, if you hear me say either one, I mean the same thing. What are they used for? Commonly accounting, calculating, charting. Now I'm going to hold off a charting lesson in next week. So we'll wrap up Excel next week. We're only going to do that for part of next week. The rest of it will be on the internet, but we'll do a little bit of charting next week. It's just one thing too many to fit into this week. And budgets. Now this is just a few things they're used for. There's lots and lots of things they're used for. What type of data can you put into a cell? A cell would be the intersection of a row and column. What kind of information can you put in a spreadsheet? Well, you've already seen we put in labels. And a label might say something like employee, account, business name, total, things like that. We put in text, that's a label. And that's alphabetic, okay? I don't know why this says left align, but you could left align it. You can align it however you want. Some of these notes came from other teachers. So kind of ignore some of this stuff right here. Values, that'd be literally the numbers, whatever number you're putting in there, okay? And then formulas. Formulas always start with an equal sign. They're equations used to calculate numbers. Now, you've heard me talk about functions. Functions are a type of formula. So they're all formulas if they start with an equal sign, okay? But there are special types of formulas called functions. So that comes to the next part here. Two types of formulas, simple, that's our basic one, like cell A1 plus cell B1, okay? That'd be a simple formula. A more complex, or what's called functional formula, would be like sum, average, count, max, min, and if. Now last week we used the sum function, and I'm trying to remember, we may have used the average function, or we used the count function, I know that. This week we'll be going over all those. Okay, we'll be using sum, average, count, max, min, and if. Okay, sum is written as sum, average is written as average, count is written as count, max is just maximum is just max, M-A-X, minimum is just M-I-N, and if is if, and there's more to if than what you see here. Now, when you're writing out your formulas, addition and subtraction are the same. They have the same operators, the plus and the minus. Multiplication, the operator is the asterisk. It's not a X or cross or dot. This isn't exactly math class. It's a little bit different. So it's multiplication. And division is a backslash. Okay? Now, when you make a formula, because what we're doing here is just an introduction. But if you had to actually calculate things and make calculations, then you got to think back to math class. You got to think, what's the order of operations? And you should know that the first thing, if there's a complex formula, is it's going to go from left to right for multiplication and division first. And it just goes in order from left to right, and whenever it gets to a multiplication or division, it does that first. Then it goes back through left to right, and it will do the addition and subtraction from left to right. Now, of course, the exception of that is right here. If you need to put in parentheses, like in this one here, if you want B plus C, or B5 plus C5 to be added first before it's multiplied by D5, you would have to put that in parentheses. If you did not put it in parentheses, it would multiply C5 by D5 and then add it to B5, which would be a different answer. So yeah, remember the order of operations. Workbook, that's just, the entire file. We make one workbook for the week. Worksheets, just our individual sheet. The cell address is like B5, C6, it's the column in the row. Active cell is the cell you're currently working in. You can only work in one cell at a time. Okay, now this is the complex formulas. This is the functions. Okay, probably better if it was functions here. Okay, we already talked about sum function. We're going to be going over, if we haven't already, average, count. That's a typo there with the A. I'm not sure why that A is in there. Max. These notes aren't original to me. Min and if. Okay, and we'll be putting, most of the time we're going to do it for a range. And the range always looks like this. It has a top left cell, bottom right cell with a colon in parentheses. So it goes from the top left to the bottom right. Now, yes, you might say, well, are there ever times you add up cells that aren't next to each other or near each other? On rare occasion you might, and there are ways to do that, but we're not going to cover that right now. The if function will be rather more complex, and when we get to that one, I'll cover it. Now, charting and graphs I'm not going to cover today, but you'll have the notes, so you at least have some idea that you can make charts and graphs. Matter of fact, when you need charts and graphs, Excel is the place to go. Even if you're going to put that chart or graph in a PowerPoint or a Word document or something, Excel is a great place to go. That we'll do in a lesson next week. So without further ado, go ahead and open up a brand new Excel document. Okay, I decided to go over this here in my regular Excel on my computer. So yours may look slightly different. I'm on a Mac. I got, it should be very similar. Now, we went over a lot of the basics last week, so whichever version you're doing, you should be able to find the most basic, simple things that we are doing. Now, you're going to create, you have to hit the plus sign to create your sheets. To name a sheet, just double click. You can see this down here. And for the first sheet, name it bank. That's going to be bank account summary, but bank is fine. For the second sheet, name it average. Third sheet, name it sales. Fourth sheet, mileage. And the last sheet, if function. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started here. Okay, everyone got their sheets in. You pause the tutorial as needed, and you can, I do like I'm coming back here. I'm going to delete all that before. Okay, I decided to open this up in the regular version of Excel that I have on my computer. Hopefully all of you at your school computers got the regular version of Excel. You're probably on a Windows version. It might look a tiny bit different than mine. Not a big deal. I'm sure last week we went over the basics using the other version. And if you look around, you should be able to find everything you need, especially since we're doing fairly simple things here. Okay, so you might need to look around some of the menus and that for some of the things that we're doing. In case you forgot, you might say, how do I do something like this, Mr. Rio? Remember, we put it just in one cell, say A1 or A2, wherever you want to begin. And then we typed in, say, bank account, and then we drag across. And then we went looking for merge and center right here in the middle. And even though I'm in a different version this week, it's somewhere in the middle there. Look around. And you have to select how many cells you want to merge and center. You want to do 3, you want to do 4. As long as you get close, I'm not real picky. Now for summary, do the same thing. You click down, you type in summary, you drag across, and do another merge and center. Okay, this here is just basic text typed in, centered, bold. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. At least bold it. This here maybe for sure make a little bit bigger. Okay, as we talked about last week, if you want to adjust rows or columns, you got to go up here for columns. You can move this here. You got to go in between the two of them, and then your cursor becomes a double arrow. Same thing with rows. You don't have to do rows usually very often, but once in a while you might have a need. You got to go over here between, like, say, 3 and 4 or 4 and 5, and it becomes a double arrow, and you can drag it up. So I think everyone's probably familiar with that by now. So you should have your basic info in here by now. So we're going to do a number of things. We have a bank account. We have account numbers. Okay, these are different, I assume different accounts. We have people's beginning balance. I'm guessing this is for a month. And of course it varies widely from as little as $582 to $432,000 and $728. Now deposits is what you put into the account. So these people put this into the account. Drafts is what you take out of the account. Okay, you go withdraw money. Okay, first we're going to do our totals down here. This will be really simple to do. And we're going to use just the sum function, and we're going to use the automatic one built in. And I'm just going to drag down here. You notice I selected that entire column. I leave where I want the answer to go blank. Now, yes, there's a blank one here, but that won't hurt anything. Then I simply go up, look for that Greek letter E that's probably hidden up here somewhere. If you just click it, that'll probably work as a default to sum. But if you want to go in a pull-down menu and go to sum, you can do that, and it adds all these up. Now, if you click in here, and you can't see the function there, the formula. It's a formula, but we call them a function when you do it this way. You can look up here. It's equal sign sum. And that's the range, B7 to B12 with a colon in parentheses. So that's going from here, B7, and it does include the blank one. Now, if you want to edit this and click up here and make it B11, so it doesn't include the blank one, you could do that. Won't hurt anything. But if you left it the other way, that didn't hurt anything either. You got the same answer. Now, we're going to also add these up, which you saw how easy that was. You could just literally do the same thing this way. Nothing wrong with doing that. Or you can click here and do a fill right. Now, I'm going to show you another way you do fill now that I'm in the regular program. I'm going to drag across like this here. Now, right now, I'm not going to do the ending balance. I'm not sure if there's a reason to do that total at this time. But I'm going to just do these ones right here. So I can always do that later. So I'm going to go across here and I'm going to go up to the edit menu. This is up here. This is in the regular version of Excel. Go down to fill and you can see you can fill down, right, up, or left. I'm going to do right. Okay, now a lot of you are saying, Mr. Real, you could have just done the shortcut with that little handle and drag across. Yes, that does the same thing. I just want you to know the difference. Okay, so that added these up, and just on quick glance, I often do a quick glance to see if the answers look reasonable, because if they don't, then I probably did something wrong, but that looks pretty good. Okay, now for the ending balance, this we're going to do manually. This is not just a function. This is something we have to give some thought to. So we're going to start with an equal sign. Now some of you might say, well, do we put in 5,863 to get started? No, you don't put the actual number. You always put the cell reference. For me, that is B7. Now, if you put your stuff in a different row or column, that particular cell right here might be a little different for you. But for me, it's B7. Now, what am I going to do with B7? That's what we started the month with. So we got deposits. That's money that we add into the account. So I'm going to put a plus sign. Now, again, I don't write that number. I put the cell reference. So I'm going to put C7. I'm literally typing it manually. Okay, we got B7 plus C7. Now we have drafts. That's money we're taking out of the account. So we're going to put a minus sign, and then I'm going to put D7. Now the next thing I'm going to do before I decide if I'm done is this the way I want the order of operations? Do I want to do B7 plus C7 and then minus D7? As it turns out, I can't think of any reason why I wouldn't want it that way. So I don't need any parentheses. It looks fine just the way it is. And I can hit return, and there is my ending balance. So we took that amount, added this, and minus that. So that's our ending. And if I click on it, I'll see my formula up here, equal sign B7 plus C7 minus D7. Now, this is where we can do the shortcut. We'll just simply drag this here down and get the totals right there. Now, do I need an ending balance total? I don't really think so. We're more concerned about these categories here, so I think this here will be fine. If you are on the regular computer, which probably most of you are if you're not up on the online version, you can just hit a save or do a Command C, or if you're on a Windows computer, Control, I said C, I meant S. You can do a Command S on a Mac, Control S on a Windows computer. Okay, so that's the first one, bank. Fairly simple. Okay, average. Now, I'm not going to go over formatting all of this. That should be review. So this one's going to go very, very quickly. Okay, we have, let's just see what this is all about. Average temperature for these cities here. Not sure if Chattanooga spelled correctly there, but we'll leave it for now. And we got the average high temperature and the average low temperature. So what are we going to do here? Okay, we got average. We are going to click here. And I'm going to do this manually. I'm going to put an equal sign. Now, a lot of you may know an average would be adding up those 5 numbers and divide by 5. That's how you average things. And we could do that. We could put 44 or whatever, B6 for me, plus B7 and so forth, and put in parentheses and divide it. But we can just use the average function. So I'm going to type the word average. Probably help if I spell it correctly. Okay, there are other ways you can do this. There it pops up, so there's average. Now, when I click that, it automatically set up the parentheses, because I do got to have parentheses. So what is my range going to be? The top left is going to be here, this one here, which for me is B6. So I'm going to put in B6. Then I put in a colon. Then my bottom right is going to be right here, which for me is B10. For you, it might be a little different. Okay, so I got B6 colon B10 in parentheses. That's the range. And I got average. So average is going to go through those cells and average them. So I hit return. See how simple that was? And then, of course, I can click on here if I want to format, center it, make it look a little bit nicer. Okay. Now I can just, drag this across, fill across, and see how simple that was. That's going to put in an average function that does C6 to C10. Okay, very, very simple, very, very quick. And of course, there are multiple ways sometime to do these. I could have went up here and so forth and did average from up here. Okay, so that one's done. That's it. If you already got your stuff in, that was all we're doing there. Just a quick use of average. Sales. Okay, we got this sales volume summary. This is just a merge and center for a couple of columns. You could do 2 or 3 columns depending how you organize your stuff here. This one's in 2 columns. We got a salesperson. We got their names here. And we got their weekly sales. Now we want to know a couple of things. We want to know the total sales. It's all the dollar sales for everybody combined. And we want to know just the highest dollar amount, like which one was the highest one. Not necessarily their name, but just the dollar amount. So that's going to be 2 different functions. The first function here is going to be a simple sum function. We're just going to add it. Because there's nothing in between here except for this empty row here, I could literally just drag like this, leave the bottom one where I want my sum function to go. Simply go up here to the Greek letter E. I can literally just click it because that's the default. And there it is right there. That's my sum function. If I deselect, click there. There it is right there. And I can decide later if I want to center this or whatever. I'm not real picky about that. Maybe I'll center it just because this was centered. Okay. Now, if you want to do all these left align, that's okay too. I'm not real picky on that there for this assignment. Okay. That might even be better. Now, highest sales, I'm going to introduce you to a different function. This is going to be called the max function. How does that work? Well, we're going to start with an equal sign. I'm going to do it manually. There's other ways you can do it. And we're going to simply type max. Now, some of you might be thinking right now, if I click there, it'll put in parentheses. Some of you might think, Mr. Rio, does that have to be in all caps? No, it doesn't. You can do max in lowercase, uppercase, or a mix of both. Okay, I usually do uppercase. So I got my parentheses there. Now, what's the range I want to go through? It's right here. Okay, I could literally drag that. See that right there? See how simple that was? It put it all in. B6 to B13 with a colon in between. Okay, now again, you may have put your stuff in a slightly different row or column, so yours may not be B6 to B13, but it should be pretty, you can just adjust it for wherever yours is. So what is it going to do? I always want you to think through the logic here because I want you to understand what's going on. It's going to go through this range of cells, and whichever number is the highest, it's going to display it. So if I hit return, the highest number is 7,325, so that is what's going to be displayed there. If I click on there, you can see it up here, equal sign max B6 colon B13, so that's the highest sales, and our total sales is a sum function. So that's a fairly simple one. Once you get used to this, it's actually pretty easy, okay? Okay, now we're going to go on to mileage. Okay, we're at mileage, and we're going from Miami, Florida over here. See, we have to look at the labels. These are just a review from our notes. These are labels telling us what this is. Without these labels, we have no clue what this is. If we didn't have miles here, we didn't know these are miles. If we don't know from or to or what this is, okay, that's what labels are, why they're important. So we're going to do, I'm actually going to add one down here. We're going to add longest. So we're going to do 2 calculations down here. Okay, now for the first one, which we'll click over here, we're going to do a min function. And you probably already figured out min is the opposite of max. It does the smallest or the shortest. So I'm going to click there. That just popped up. I didn't do anything special there. I started typing min. This popped up. I clicked there. I could type the whole thing manually. I could go up here and start it. There's several different ways I could do this. Now, what is the range? Now, again, I could type manually. It's going to be C6 to C13, or I can just drag here like that, and it does it for me. So I got C6 colon C13. I hit return, and the shortest distance is 665 miles. That's from Miami, Florida. So Atlanta, Georgia, out of these cities here, is the shortest distance from Miami. Now, the longest one, you probably figured out, we're going to do a max. So I'm going to do this a little different. I click in there. I'm going to go way up here. I'm going to pull this down to max and click, and it starts out my function. Now, right now, it's only showing this. That's not what I want. I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to go up here and drag this here. And as I dragged it, it automatically made that range for me. So I want to make sure that the basics are here. I got my equal sign, check. I got my function, max, check. I got my parentheses, check. My top left cell, that's this one here, C6, a colon in between, and my bottom right, C13. I hit return, and there is the longest distance. So we did a min function. You can see it up here. And we did a max function. Okay, I'm going to drag this in a little bit. Don't really need that so big. I don't really need this so big. Always make your sheets look nice. Make them look professional. Make them, now being this is centered and this isn't, I probably should do one or the other. I think maybe I'll just center these. Now, if you want to make yours on, lined up here on the right, that's okay too. I think I said left on the other one, but okay, so these first 4 sheets are fairly simple. Notice all these are in the same workbook. We got one new Excel document this week. So when you submit it, you're just submitting one Excel document. It's a workbook. What do you name it? I name mine Excel Week 2. If you want to name it Week 2, Excel Week 2, want to put your last name on it, put a 2 or something, you're going to submit it. I'll know it's yours. I do want these named like this: bank, average, sales, mileage, if. And remember, you hit the little plus every time you need to make a new one. Now the last one, by the way, and like I said, this tutorial is longer. I'm just doing one straight through tutorial. This is all we're doing for the whole week. So if you want to, take a break anywhere and then start up again later or tomorrow, and let's get it in by Friday. And by the way, if something comes up in your life this week and Thursday rolls around and there's some family thing or something going on, you need a little extension or a tech issue or something, just shoot me an email. This past week, 1 or 2 kids needed a little extra day or so. Not a big deal. Just shoot me an email. And this is not hard. These are important basic skills that for Excel. And these is something, if you're, whatever you do in the future, it's good having Excel skills. And like I said, the only thing I'm not covering this week that I'm going to carry into next week is charting. Okay, now the if function, it's going to look weird. It's going to be strange, but it's actually not that hard. Okay, so we're going to click right here. And what's going on here? We have insurance premiums, insurance premium update. Now you can start in cell A1 or start one down. Just do a layout like this. We got policy holders. These are names of people that have insurance policies. These are their ages. These are their previous premium. That's what they paid last year. And now they're getting a new premium. In other words, some of them are going to pay more money, some are going to pay less. Now, to give you a little idea how the insurance industry works, when you are younger, and this is we're doing for auto insurance. It doesn't say auto, but we'll say auto insurance. When you're younger, you pay higher amounts of money. Okay, just that simple. So for this first one here, we're going to click here, and I'm going to do this all manually. We're going to start, every formula starts with an equal sign. And an if function is nothing more than a formula. Now the if function is, of course, if. Okay, and then it comes here. I'm going to click that, and it starts there. Now when that comes up, you can kind of see here a little bit. Maybe you can see it on yours. There's going to be 3 parts in the parentheses. That's what makes it more tricky when you're new to it. The first is going to be a test. Okay, and it's going to have a comma. The second is going to be what formula to use if it's true or if it's yes. Then there's another comma. Then the second formula, which would be the third one over here, is going to be what formula you use if it's no or false. So let me give you an example. Our test is going to be the age. So for this first person, the age for me, the way I got mine laid out, is over here. So that is B8. So I got B8. So I'm going to have B8 is smaller than 25. Okay, what does that mean? That means if the person is under 25, not equal to 25, but under 25, which means 24 or below, they're going to get the first formula. Okay, because that will be true. Then if they're not under 25, they're going to get the second formula because it would be false. Okay? So the first formula, now the first formula does not involve their age. We're not going to add dollars to their age. That makes no sense whatsoever. We're going to take their previous premium, so we're going to click that. And if they are under 25, they're going to get a plus 30. So in other words, they're getting a $30 increase. Okay, then we're going to put another comma. Now, if they're not under 25, which is false, we're going to take the same, in my case, C8, and for you it might be slightly different, and we're going to minus 25. So if you are 25 or older, which means you're not under 25, you're going to get a decrease in your premium. Okay? So we got this here, C8. For me, it's C8. For you, it might be slightly different. They're going to get a plus 30. And then that's if they're under 25. And if this is not true, which means they're 25 or older, it's going to go to after the second comma and take C8 and minus 25, which means we'll get a decrease. So there's three parts here. Then I'm going to hit return. Now, this particular person, as we saw, they're under 25. That's their previous premium, and sure enough, they're paying $30 more. Now, could you fill this down? Yes. Most of the work is in the first one. Okay? I don't expect you to fully, in just one lesson, one try here, to fully comprehend and master this, but if you follow along with me, it should be pretty easy. Now, normally I do a fill down right now, but I'm going to do one more manually just to help you through it. So we're going to do the second one manually. I'm going to press equal. Now, of course, our first part is going to be, you've got to put if. Then we're going to click here. Since that comes up, may as well. Then the logical test. So we're going to put in again the this case, it's B9 for me. And I'm going to put B9 smaller than 25. Then I put a comma. So that is the test. B9 is smaller than 25. Okay? Now I'm going to put the first formula, which would be C9. Because remember, we're not adding the person's age or subtracting the person's age. We're doing their previous premium. So that's where it gets a little tricky here. You got to think through, what are we doing? I'm going to take the C9, and if they are in fact younger, they're going to get that increase. So I'm going to get the plus 30. And I'll put a comma. Now, that's the first one, but we got to put in the second one in case they're not under 25, which this person, as you can see, is not. So we're going to put in the C9 again, and we're going to put minus 25. So they will get a $25 deduction because they're not there, under there. So that was just reviewing it again. I didn't have to really do that, but I wanted to do it just to go through it slow again. So we got equal sign, we got if. We're using the age here for a test. Now, often the test is a smaller than or greater than type of thing, but I guess there might be other tests out there. So then if it's true, we got a comma there. We do the first one, so that applied to the first person up here. And if it's not true, there's another comma, and we have a different formula. Okay, this person's not under 25, so they're going to get the second one, which is a discount. So we'll hit return and see theirs went down. Now I'll click here and just drag here and do the fill down and save myself a bunch of time. The only thing I do want to do here is, you notice there's no dollar signs. So I'm going to review here doing the currency, just drag down, and you go up here. Okay, just go find currency, and that looks real nice right there. And if you haven't done this in currency, go ahead and do the same thing. Remember, if you do this one here with the dollar sign, it puts the dollar signs way over here. I'm not a big fan of that. I want you to go up here and do the currency. Okay? Um, yeah, there's a whole lot in Excel. Obviously, I'm not covering because we don't have time. This is just giving you the basics. If you are in OneDrive, your probably saves automatically. If you're not, you can save or whatever. If you're in OneDrive, then you're going to have to download it or export it out so you can upload it to me. Now that brings us back to how do you upload it. When you go to my assignment and you click to add create, I'm not going to open it because I can't do it because I'm not a student. Actually, I can. I'll show you because I am a student. Actually, I almost forgot. I'm taking a class right now. So, and they're using Google Classroom. So I'll go to the class I'm taking. Okay, it's to learn about distance learning. Here it is right here, setting up for effective distance learning. So I will go to classwork, and I'm going to have to go to one of my assignments. I'll go down to this one here, and I'm going to click View Assignment. I'm only doing this not to show you this part, to show you up here. When you click Add Create to submit, just go to File. It's that simple. And then you could drag it into here, or you can click and select it. Okay, I recommend if you're in OneDrive or you're on your computer, just save the Excel file or download to maybe your desktop or somewhere you know where it's at, and just drag it into here, go find it from here and put it into here. Okay, and then once it's there, you just click to upload it, click to submit it, actually turn it in. You got to click turn it in again, and that's the best way to share it with me. If that's a problem and you need to try a different method, you can just send me an email or whatever, and we'll try to figure it out. Okay, so I did a long tutorial today, but that is the whole week. So other than charting, this is all the Excel I'm going to cover. You should have one workbook. Your workbook should have a sheet called bank. It should have a sheet called average, a sheet called sales, a sheet called mileage, and a sheet for the if function called if function. And it should be laid out nicely and look like this. You got the PDF, you got the notes, and now you've got your document you made, the workbook. So have a great week. Got any questions, send me an email. Next week we'll do charting just for part of our lessons next week, and then we'll be starting internet topics. So have a great week. Take care.